It was a really interesting process that we went through, and it involved almost 30 volunteers for the SMPS Foundation. Included within that were 15 certified professional services marketers, as well as 10 fellows of SMPS. So we had a really good dynamic group. And we spent a year researching how buyers buy and how sellers sell in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries. And the end result of that was this new book that is being released right here at Build Business. There were a lot of interesting takeaways. One of them that I know is near and dear to the hearts of a lot of SMPS members is the role of non-technical business developers. We went in sort of with the premise that that role was switching in our industry, and the buyers were pretty resounding, and particularly in a couple market segments, about saying there's no role for non-technical business developers. So a lot of us that are in SMPS don't have the technical backgrounds, and owners, particularly in corporate commercial hospitality, 80% of those owners said that they want to be called on by the project manager, by a principal, but not a non-technical business developer. So there's a switching of roles really when you get to business development. It reinforced the importance of the seller-doer, and also owners throughout all categories, all market segments, told us that they want to talk with their project manager and their project team from the very earliest conversations. So that has a major impact when you look at your technical staff and the people that are sort of the frontline staff out there talking to clients. They need to be out there on the front end of the business development as well, because that is an owner expectation. One of the other things that we found on the seller side, that is the architectural, engineering, construction firms, is that what used to work doesn't work anymore. Relationships still matter. Relationships are still key more than anything else, but it's becoming more and more difficult to use those tried and true marketing and business development techniques because the owners aren't buying them anymore. They've increased in sophistication, and so we in our industry have had to increase our sophistication as a result of that. Some of the research has revealed that owners are finding us. They don't have time to be called on. So we kind of summarized it, don't call us, we'll call you. Owners reported that they are looking at company websites. They are calling like firms, other firms that they respect, and they are saying, who's your architect, who's your builder? And they're getting these referrals, and then they are reaching out to the AEC industry. So it's really important for our members to have a vibrant website, a social media presence, whatever the case may be, out there at conferences. We need to be putting our names out there because the owners are actually doing their own research before they ever have a conversation with us. Why is it beneficial to purchase this book? Well, I think nothing like this has ever been done before. We actually were pretty aggressive with what we tried to do. It's all primary-based research, and we had more than 100 interviews, and the interviews were with the sellers of AEC services, and in those cases we were typically talking to the VP, CMO, and executive level. And then the buyers of AEC services. So it could be facilities managers or up above them within client organizations, anybody that's tasked with obtaining or commissioning design and construction services. And so we asked them a similar set of questions. They were slightly different, but similar, so we could kind of compare and contrast them. And so we have very current primary-based research. We segmented by type of AEC firm, a single discipline prime, multidiscipline, subconsultants, construction, and then likewise we also segmented the owner groups. So you have corporate, commercial, and hospitality, you have healthcare and education, because the institutional buying behaviors are very similar. Then we had state, municipal, and local governments, very similar buying behaviors, federal government. So by segmenting these different groups, whether it's on the seller side or the buyer side, anybody who purchased the book can go, oh, you know what, I'm a multidiscipline design firm. I'm going to start with that chapter. And we typically call on institutions, so I'm going to jump to the healthcare and education chapter. So we tried to make the data easily accessible, very current, very relevant, and I think it's a great resource for a lot of positions. Even marketers that aren't frontline staff might be involved with training their doer sellers. Likewise, it's good for marketers just to know what it's like out there. I think for executives of corporations in our industry, companies, they can read this, get sort of a lay of the land. They're probably going to find some patterns that they've personally witnessed, and this research is going to reinforce some of what they've been speculating about. Probably a lot of new ideas in there, or looking what other firms have done, particularly in the seller section of the book. You can sort of benchmark with what other firms are doing or where other firms are going. And part of what we were doing with this research is getting away from what you did in the past. It's about what you're doing right now and what you plan to do in the coming years.